love, love, love till I hear the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is David Murray. He's the founder of the Maria Valtorta Readers Group. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Tell me more about how you came into your faith and closer to God.
I grew up as a Catholic. I grew up in Sydney. I was one of 9 children, and Mum was a very devout Catholic. Dad was a sort of a lapsed Catholic, but anyhow, she hung in there, and I grew up and then became a land surveyor and went to Western Australia and practiced surveying over there and raised a family. And then later on I came to Melbourne to study town planning. Anyway, but while all this was growing up, my faith was sort of became a bit lukewarm, and then I had a little bit of a row with somebody high in the church, and I took it out on the whole Catholic Church. I took it out and I blamed them for it, and still kept going to Mass and all that, and kept in touch with some of my friends who were in different prayer groups and such. And I heard about this place called Medjugorje.
Yes.
And some people were telling me that it's a place of pilgrimage in Yugoslavia, and a lot of people go there and see some remarkable things. And I was thinking to myself, I need a holiday. Perhaps I will go there and just go there as a holiday. So I went there, and I did all the things, went to the Mass in various languages, and there were thousands of people going there from different parts of the world. It was, and one morning in the church, the Mass was in English. That's right. They have different language Masses, and they decided to sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And the place was full of Americans, and that's what they wanted to sing. So I thought, oh, here we go. And we were singing the third verse. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never sound retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before the judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to whatever it is. Da-da-da-da-da-da, my soul is marching on. I thought, wow. And I thought, I'll go to confession.
It really struck you.
That was like a prompt for me.
Yes.
So I hightail out of the church. I look for a priest and find myself with this priest, and I opened the door just a fraction to my life, which was pretty dramatic up to that stage, and that was the opening. And then I came back home to Australia, and one of the things that I found at Medjugorje were half the people in our group were reading these books about Maria Valtorta, who was a mystic who lived in Italy in the early 1900s to about 1961 or something like that. And she wrote huge amounts of books. She was like what do you call the difference? Not a paraplegic, but she was from the legs down.
Oh, right. Quadriplegic.
No, it wasn't. It was a paraplegic.
Paraplegic.
She was a paraplegic.
And what's a mystic for those viewers?
Oh, somebody who lives a holy life and finds things and connects with things and sees things, sees visions. And she wrote about the lives of Jesus and Mary from the time before Mary was born to the time after the Assumption. And she had these visions and dictations, and she was taken back in time for all these experiences. And I thought, by gosh, these books, and she wrote lots of books, they're so biblical. I wonder if anybody's ever done cross-section or connecting what she saw with what's actually in the Bible.
Right.
So I went to the Bible, and I was taking lots of notes and things of what she saw, And I'm connecting them with the various Bible passages,
Wow.
not only from the New Testament, but from the Old Testament, because Jesus grew up with the Old Testament verses that he grew up with it as a Jew. And I found over a number of years that 98.5% of the passages in the Gospels that referred to the lives of Jesus and Mary were actually witnessed by Maria Valtorta.
Wow, in her visions.
In her visions. And I was amazed.
Wow.
So I started up this little group of people and gave talks about them.
And how many years ago was that?
Well, this was in the about 1993, so it was about 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yes. And then one thing led to another, and I started to give talks to various people, and it grew and grew and grew.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's even gone internationally, hasn't it?
Well, it started in Italy, and I had all the books that had been translated from the original Italian. She was Italian, her scripts into English, so I had the 5 volumes of what is called the Poem of the Man God, which has been reprinted as The Gospel as Revealed to Me, which is the title of a new 10-volume edition of the same works of what she was given to her. And it changed my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. How has it changed your life?
Well, perhaps one of the most important things that happened to me was I produced little booklets on various themes, and I was producing one on forgiving and being forgiven. And I had this text of all the passages in her writings that I selected that related to that theme. And I was putting together them in a booklet, and I found, and the last passage was a passage about judging.
Yeah, on that note, because that's really interesting, we're going to go for a break now, but it's
Okay.
really interesting about forgiveness.
Yeah.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is David Murray. He's the founder of the Maria Valtorta Readers Group. Welcome back, David.
Thank you, Geraldine.
You were talking about, very interestingly, about forgiveness and judging and the books that you used to write.
Well, I was putting this little booklet together on the theme of forgiving and not forgiving, and it had one extra passage at the end, and I was using a program called Microsoft Publisher, and it was able to produce these in multiples of 4 pages. And I think I'd done it whether it was 36 pages, and then the one in judging was sort of, that made it into a number 37 page. Well, this is not about judging, it's about forgiving, so I deleted it. And anyway, something happened, and I must have been thinking about it over the couple of nights after, and the word, a little word came into my mind. What was that word? Oh, that was a word out of the passage on judging, out of the blue. And I thought, judging, why isn't it part of forgiving? So I went back to the computer and I put it together and published a little booklet and put it on the inside of the back cover. And then I realised later, and I was giving a talk in Brisbane, I think at the time, while I am judging, I'm falling into the trap of not forgiving. If I can nip this judging in the bud, then I don't fall into this trap of not forgiving. And over all the years that I was talking about Maria Valtorta and how her writings were affecting my life, That's probably the most important lesson that I have learnt. Because when anybody is talking about somebody and saying nasty things about them, I say, David, you don't know where they're coming from. How would you know what's led to this? They might have grown up in an abusive family. They might have done this. They might have done that. And if I can nip this judging in the bud, so I say to myself, David, you don't know where they're coming from.
That's a great concept and a great practical thing, isn't it? Because it's people, only God knows people's intentions.
Yes.
We can only see people's behavior, but we don't know why they do those things, why they do.
How would we know?
And only God does.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose, like you had said earlier, from the Bible, the debt we owe everyone is love.
Yes.
And we're not to judge, isn't it?
And when we say the Our Father, the only thing we ask our Father for this and this, and the only thing we undertake to do is to forgive. And forgiveness is the most important thing that we learn to do in our life. And perhaps it's the most important obstacle of non-forgiveness that stops us where we're going. Yes.
And, the interesting thing about forgiveness and love, in our society today, there's a lot on, entitlement, that people are entitled. People have a right to do this, free will, or, but some people are doing things that hurt others.
Yes.
Have you got any thoughts on that, based on your Maria Valtorta readings and Bible, about our society today being fairly entitled?
Well, I think that it becomes a listening tool, because whenever somebody is talking to me and they're saying something, it's coming from them. It's their experience.
Yes.
And the person talking to me is an expert on their experience, about which I am not. So how can I listen better? By just letting them tell me what they think and what their experience is without judging. And a lot more information comes out if that person doesn't feel judged in what they're telling us.
Yes, that's a great attitude.
Yes. So
I can suddenly learn from that. Yes, because that opens communication, and then when the aim is love, rather than I'm right, you're wrong, or you're right, I'm wrong, or defensiveness. That's powerful.
And in that way I can get into great conversations with people when I produce this thought, and then they're able to feel that they can tell me things that perhaps they don't share very often.
Yes.
And I learn so much in that respect.
I suppose in the Bible often Jesus is asking questions, then listening, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes.
And sometimes he'd tell people about their lives and then surprise them.
Oh, yes.
Because he knew deeper.
Yes. So.
Yes, and you also have found that people have you been able to spread your message through the social media or through word of mouth?
Well, we've got a website, and gosh, that makes a big difference. It's the Maria Valtorta Readers Group website, Valtorta something or other.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so that's how you spread the word, and you've got it also on Facebook, is that?
No, I don't get into
not Facebook.
So
much. Yes.
I didn't even get invited to my 80th birthday. Yes, I did, but I never saw it on Facebook, so I almost didn't turn up.
Gee, you look so passionate and so alive at 80.
Oh, I'm 87.
You're incredible.
Yes. But I've got a few years to go yet.
I know you've got a lot of passion and faith, I can see that it's brought you a lot of peace, your faith in God.
Joy.
Oh, that's great.
A lot of joy. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful to know.
Yeah.
And it's good news for people in today's day and age, where people get very stressed.
Well, I think positively about things. When they say, this is going on and this is going on, I try and think of what I see that's positive that's going on.
Oh.
Because you can only build on the positives.
That's right.
You can't build on the negatives.
Yes, and that's a fantastic note to go to our break now.
Okay, yeah.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Go till I hear the breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Go till I hear the breath of the Spirit blowing in me.
Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is David Murray. He's the founder of Maria Valtorta Readers Group. Welcome back, David.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Yeah, you spoke about how you always see the positive things, which is very much scriptural, isn't it? You know, where it says in the Bible, dwell your mind on what is pure, loving, and of God. You know, instead of thinking of the half empty, we think of the half full. And I can see the joy coming from you, you know, and peace. And that's very much something that's happened through your faith in God, hasn't it?
Well, one thing that's happened in my life, up till the time I had I call it a reversion, not a conversion, but back to the Catholic Church, I had never learned to love anybody unconditionally. And then after this, in an event in my life which I won't talk about, on the basis of my writings and my growth in whatever, I had learned to love somebody unconditionally for the first time in my life. So the main message from Maria Valtorta for everybody is love. Love.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and which is true, because that's very much in the Bible that the only debt we owe people is love.
Yes.
And, you know, we leave the judgment to God. Like you
Yes,
said, love
yes.
is not judging.
And love, it doesn't have to be sexual, it doesn't have to be particularly, but it has to be have the interests of the other person deep in my heart. And love God and love my neighbour as myself. Well, that's the essence of the commandments. Love God and love my neighbour as myself.
And that was the message of Maria Valtorta's, is that you said is the main message of Maria
I'd say,
Valtorta's reading?
if
to
there was
love.
one word that encompasses it all, because she was in love with Jesus. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And he gave her a bit of a hard time from time to time. He cultivated her before he gave her all these visions and dictations.
right.
He cultivated her growth for about a whole year before he started to reveal the story of his and his mother's lives and
Yes.
their passions.
Yeah, would you say cultivation is kind of like pruning, the suffering and pruning?
Yes, yes.
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 I listened to a fantastic YouTube about that when a tree goes through hardship, as humans beings,
Ah, yes.
symbolically,
Yes.
you like the wind, the rain, the
Yes.
extreme storm, the drought,
Yes.
the tree's roots go deeper and they
Yes.
become stronger, and they rely more on the source, which is God.
Yes.
And I suppose because God loves us, He allows us to suffer or be pruned, one should say.
And how can I judge somebody if I haven't been there where that person has been? How could I be of any help to, say, an alcoholic if I hadn't been an alcoholic myself?
Yes. It's very difficult when you're going through the suffering.
Oh, yes.
I'm myself having gone through depression. But I think what helped me was Saint Teresa's thing that this too shall pass. You know, that whatever you're going through, it'll pass. And that there's always brothers and sisters in Christ who we can turn to, give them a call or text them or email them. And I'm sure you reach out to a lot of the followers.
When I can, yes. One thing that happened to me during my travels, I was in Canada, and somebody gave me a rose petal. And this rose petal was discovered by a man who was a Filipino, and he was coming home. He was watching the television one night, and he came home. He was going to bed, and the Filipinos, they have little statues in their houses, and there was a statue and there were some roses, some flowers, and And somebody had seen the flowers and the petals of the roses on the table, and they found that there were some petals with the face of Jesus on them.
Wow. And these petals were next to that statue?
Yes,
Wow.
but yes, they'd fallen out of a vase next to the statue.
Wow.
And I was given one of those petals,
Yes.
and it had the face of Jesus on it.
Wow.
Now, I thought to myself, oh, this is amazing. So I had it photographed.
Yeah.
And this is the photograph
Wow, that's
of
amazing.
the rose petal.
Oh, wow. So you enlarged it and then
Enlarged
was
it.
able...
And it was only about a couple of centimetres in diameter.
That's amazing. You can see
and look
that.
at the detail on it.
Wow.
Now, I have sent thousands of these to different people all over the world.
Yes.
And it's just an amazing thing that happens. And sometimes something special happens when they see this photograph
Wow,
to
that's
them.
beautiful. Fantastic.
And I had a brother-in-law that wasn't much into what I was into, and he says, "Oh, David, you can't argue with that, can you?"
That's an amazing thing.
Yes. And it drew on the writings of Maria Valtorta, because you'll notice that has the crown of thorns. And Maria describes the crown of thorns virtually as they are on the head of Jesus there.
Yes, that's beautiful. Like,
Yes.
those thorns are very clear in the eyes of
Yes.
Jesus and his mouth.
Yes,
It's
yes.
very clear. That's beautiful.
And that was a gift that I went overseas to get some permission to do something or other, and I didn't get that permission, but I came back with
This rose. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real beautiful
So I carry
gift.
it in my pocket in
Yes.
a little box. I won't bring it out now.
Yes. Oh,
And
wow.
it's still in one piece, although it's withered a lot, and you
Yes.
can't see the image on the actual fetal
Yes,
itself.
and that's beautiful that God knows that we are people that have many senses, that through just having this you
Yes.
gain strength. You know, like I've got a cross I wear in my pocket, you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes I have the rosary. Just like you have that picture, it just
Yes.
is a way of God's Holy Spirit, you know, using objects to remind us of deeper truths. So it's wonderful. And where do people know more about this Valtorta Readers Group in case someone might be
Yeah.
interested
Well,
in
we have a
joining?
website,
Yeah.
and it's valtorta.org.au.
Wow.
Simple
Yeah.
as that. Yes.
Yes, you've really helped, my faith, and I'm sure you've helped the audience faith.
Oh.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Geraldine.
and to your group.
Thank you.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Goodbye, and God bless you.